It's 3 a.m. You're dead asleep. And then, meow. You ignore it, meow. You pull the pillow over your head, meow. You drag yourself out of bed, stumble into the hallway, and find your cat just sitting there, staring at you, looking like it has absolutely no idea why you're upset. Most people think their cat is being random, or annoying, or honestly a little evil. But here's what's really happening. Your cat is sending you a message, a specific one. And if you don't know how to read it, which most owners don't, you're missing something that matters more than you think. And by the way, there's one reason cats meow at night that most owners never even consider. We'll get to it at the end. And it's the one that changes everything. Point 1, your cat isn't being random. It's running on ancient software. Have you ever been told cats are nocturnal? It sounds right. They sleep all day. They're active at weird hours. But here's the thing. That's not actually true. And this single misconception is behind so much confusion about why cats do what they do at night. Cats are not nocturnal. They're crepuscular. That means their biology is hardwired for peak activity at 2 specific windows, dusk and dawn. Researchers tracking free-ranging cats with GPS telemetry have found 2 consistent activity spikes, one around 9 p.m. and another around 5 a.m. That's it. That's when their internal clock says, go. So when your cat is losing its mind at 3 a.m., it's actually somewhere in between those 2 peaks. And it's not always fully settled. It's like being caught between 2 alarm clocks. The instinct is still running. The impulse to move, to vocalize, to hunt. It doesn't just switch off because you turn the lights off. Think about it this way. 5 a.m. is basically noon for your cat. And you're asking it to sit quietly in the dark while its entire nervous system is saying the opposite. Point 2. That meow was literally invented for you. Here's something that stops most cat owners in their tracks when they first hear it. Wild cats, feral adult cats, almost never meow at each other. Researchers who study feline communication have documented over 21 distinct vocalizations cats use to interact with other cats. Meowing is barely on that list. It shows up occasionally in kitten-to-mother communication, but in adult cat-to-cat interaction, almost non-existent. So where did the meow come from? It came from us. Meowing, as we know it, is a behavior that emerged through domestication, shaped over thousands of years of cats living alongside humans. Mildred Moelk, a researcher who studied cat vocalizations as far back as 1944, was among the first to document that adult cat meowing is primarily human-directed. Cats learned over generations that this particular sound gets a response from people. A 2020 study from the University of Milan recorded meows across 3 contexts, waiting for food, isolation, and brushing, and found that the acoustic properties shift depending on what the cat is trying to communicate. Shorter, higher-pitched meows tend to read as friendly. Longer, lower-pitched ones push into demand territory. Your cat has developed a vocabulary specifically for you. When your cat meows at 3 a.m., it is not talking to the ceiling. It is not performing for no one. It is calling out in a language it develops specifically to get a response from a human, and that human is you. And hey, if this is already making you look at your cat differently, hit that like button and subscribe. That's how we get these videos in front of more cat owners who want to actually understand what's going on with their animals, not just guess. Point 3, hunger isn't what you think it is. Okay, so your cat is meowing. Is it just hungry? Maybe. But the real answer is more interesting than that and more useful. Cats in the wild operate on a cycle that behaviorists call hunt, catch, kill, eat, groom, sleep. Every part of that cycle matters. But indoor cats skip the first 3 steps entirely. They don't hunt, they don't stalk, they don't chase, they just eat. And that unspent predatory energy has to go somewhere. Research by Dr. Mikel Delgado, a certified applied animal behaviorist at UC Davis, found that introducing a dedicated play session before a cat's final meal of the day, simulating the hunt sequence, significantly reduced nighttime restlessness and vocalization. The cat isn't just hungry for food. It's hungry for the process, the stalk, the pounce, the catch. So when your cat meows at 3 a.m. and you've already fed it, it might not be asking for more food. It might be telling you that it never got to hunt today. And its brain is still waiting for that release. That's not a small thing. That's your cat's entire psychological architecture trying to run the program it was built for. Point 4, it learned that meowing at 3 a.m. works. Here's an uncomfortable truth. Your cat meows at 3 a.m. because you taught it to, not intentionally. But that's what happened. Cats are exceptionally good at operant conditioning. Except they're not the ones being conditioned. You are. A 2023 study in applied animal behavior science found that over 61% of cats studied had developed attention-seeking vocalizations because their owners consistently responded to them with food, with play, with attention. The cat made a sound. You responded. The behavior was reinforced. The cat filed that information away and used it again. Researchers studying the acoustic properties of cat meows have confirmed that the sounds shift depending on context. The meow your cat uses for food is acoustically different from the meow for isolation. And cats learn, without any formal training, to match the sound to the situation. They're running behavioral experiments on you every single day, adjusting their outputs based on your responses. There's also something called an extinction burst. If you decide to stop responding to nighttime meowing, the behavior will get worse before it gets better. Louder, more persistent, more desperate. That's not your cat being vindictive. That's a well-documented psychological phenomenon where a learned behavior escalates briefly when reinforcement is suddenly removed. It always looks like it's getting worse right before it stops. Knowing that doesn't make 3 a.m. easier, but it does mean there's a pattern here, and patterns can be changed. Point 5, sometimes it's loneliness. And this is the one most owners miss. This is the one I want you to sit with. Some cats meow at night not because of hunger, not because of biological clocks, not because of learned behavior. They meow because they don't know where you are, and that scares them. Researchers studying attention-seeking vocalization in cats have found something striking. In many cases, cats meow from a different room, specifically when their owner is out of reach, not when the owner is in the same space, not when there's food missing. The meowing starts when the cat cannot locate the person it's bonded to. And it stops often immediately when physical contact is made. Not when food is offered, not when a toy appears. When you're there. Remember what we said earlier. Meowing was developed by cats specifically to communicate with humans. It's not a general alarm system. It's a directed signal. And in the dark, at 3 a.m., A cat that isn't fully settled into its nighttime cycle, whose owner is behind a closed door, silent, invisible, may be doing the only thing it knows how to do, calling out into the dark, hoping you answer. That's not manipulation, that's attachment, and it looks different when you understand it that way. Point 6, if it's a senior cat, listen harder. Everything we've talked about so far applies to most cats. But if your cat is 10 years old or older, and the nighttime meowing is new, or has suddenly gotten louder or more frequent, that changes the conversation entirely. Feline cognitive dysfunction syndrome, which is the cat equivalent of dementia, is more common than most people realize. Studies suggest that roughly 28% of cats between 11 and 14 years of age show signs of cognitive decline. For cats 15 and older, that number climbs to around 50%. And the number one behavioral symptom that owners report? Nighttime vocalization. Veterinarians use the acronym VISHDAAL to track the signs. It covers vocalization, social changes, sleep disruption, house soiling, disorientation, activity changes, anxiety, and memory loss. A cat with cognitive dysfunction doesn't meow at 3 a.m. because it wants something. It meows because it's disoriented. Because the house it's lived in for a decade suddenly doesn't make sense to it in the dark. Because it has lost the thread of where it is, and the only tool it has is its voice. Hyperthyroidism and high blood pressure, both common in older cats, can also drive sudden increases in nighttime yowling. Research has shown that roughly 78% of cats with hyperthyroidism show increased vocalization, particularly at night. These are medical conditions. They're treatable, but they're easy to miss if you assume it's just behavior. If your senior cat suddenly starts meowing at night, and especially if they seem confused or they're wandering or they're not quite tracking you the way they used to, that's not a nuisance. That's your cat telling you something is wrong in the only language it has. And if your cat, after years of meowing, suddenly goes quiet, that's worth paying attention to too. Silence can be its own kind of signal. A cat that has been calling out to you in the only way it knows how for years and then stops, hasn't given up on communicating. It may just need you to listen in a different way.